Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'meru, V'meru, Amen. This week's Torah reading is the third reading we have from the book of Leviticus. And in this reading, first of all, we have one of the few narratives, one of the few stories, historical narratives in the book of Leviticus, because Leviticus is mostly laws. But also we have laws that are very familiar to many Jews, very famous, world famous, is that we have the list of which animals are kosher and not kosher and so forth. This is repeated again in Deuteronomy. The interesting thing here is that in Leviticus 11 it says, "And the Lord spoke unto Moses and to Aaron in order to say to them, speak unto the children of Israel, saying to them, this is the animals which you may eat." Now the question which the Kedushas Levi, was a great Hasidic master, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak ben Sorasashim Berditchev, Zechusi Yigaleinu Al Kol Yisrael Amen. In his book Souls on Fire, Elie Wiesel writes that the Berditchev Rav was one of the heroes of the Hasidic movement, the great heroes. That's an adjective that he used to describe. Hero is a noun, but he used it in an adjective form in a sense by referring to him as a hero. Call someone a hero, that's quite a statement, but Berditchev Rav in a way an understatement. The Berditchev Rav, his whole life was to be a defense lawyer, defending his people before God, always trying to find some schus, some merit to defend the world before God. For example, very famous, the Berditchev Rav, he saw a man who was wearing his talis and his tefillin, his prayer shawl, his phylacteries, and he was loading up his wagon and maybe even greasing the wheel in the wagon. And most people would say that, why would you desecrate such holy items and get them dirty and so forth, doing work like that, dirty work like that, heavy work like that, wearing the talis and tefillin. You don't have any other time to wear talis and tefillin? That's what most rabbis would say. But the Berditchev Rav, I was once at his grave, the Berditchev Rav said the opposite. He said, look how holy this man is, even when he's working, he's praying. A similar story, even which is seasonal, even though we finished the Passover season, was that he...
When is the Passover season officially over?
It's Passover is over, but now we're in the counting of the Omer, which leads up until Shavuos. The counting of the Omer.
When can I cut my hair?
Different customs. According to some customs, you could cut your hair now. If you don't, if you keep the later time.
I don't know. I might just leave it.
Whatever you want to do. So anyway, let me finish this. Berditchev Rav, he said that there was some kind of, I don't know, whatever it was, let's say it was British tea, I don't know, that was banned in Ukraine. It was contraband. You couldn't get it. He asked around, is there any way to get some British tea on the black market? And they said, yeah, you need this much money. And they said over here you find a black market salesperson, you get the British tea, what you want. And he was able to get it. And then he went another time, and also this time he wasn't dressed like a rabbi, he was dressed like a simple common person. And he went to a Jewish bakery, Passover Eve, in the afternoon. When already on the eve of Passover we don't eat leavened bread anymore, we only come.
That was the night of the 10th,
so,
right?
Yeah, this year it was, yeah. But I'm saying in the daytime, in the afternoon, he went to the bakery, he said, could you please sell me some challah, sell me some bread, sell me some cakes? And he said, are you crazy? You're gonna ask me before Passover when we don't eat chametz for chametz? What's wrong with you? What kind of Jew are you to ask for chametz?
Why is it such a moment?
That was the night before. That was Sunday night. It was so. The point what I'm saying here is that here the Berditchev Rav, he said, look, the Ukrainian government, or whatever the government was then, the Russian government, whatever. I mean, today it's Ukraine. I'm not sure what government was over the area at the time. They made it was Polish, whatever it was. They made a law. It could have even been Austro-Hungarian. I'm not sure. They made a law that you can't have British tea, but for a couple of dollars, and they sent all kinds of police and everything to look over, make sure nobody has British tea, and for a few dollars I can find a black market fellow sell me British tea. You write something thousands of years ago in the Bible. You shouldn't eat any unleavened bread. You don't send any soldiers or any police officers or any spies to see. You just and no matter how much money I offered this Jewish baker, he wouldn't give me bread Erev Pesach. Could give him $1 million, he wouldn't give me bread.
Can I say something?
Okay.
Before I got locked up, I was with my friend, right? And I was at a pizza place.
Yeah.
Kosher.
Yeah.
Pizza place. And I asked, could I, have some pepperoni on my pizza? And, the owner just, looked at me very strange.
Right, sure.
And my friend whispered to me, that's not kosher.
Right. Also, we don't mix meat and milk, and we don't, yeah.
I said, I'm sorry,
Right.
I felt like, and then he it's a kosher, pizza place.
Yeah.
They don't, sell pepperoni.
Right. So that was what he said. Look, you don't send any police officers, and yet you can't find the chametz by a Jew the whole Pesach, and not even Erev Pesach. Now, so the Berditchever Rav, he writes, I'll tell just one more story, just because a family story. My ancestor, the Kruler Rav, Rav Moshe Arya Kruler, he was the chief rabbi of a city in Hungary, Krula. Many years later, the Satmar Rav was the Rav there. The Spinker Rebbe was also the Rav there. It became more famous later. So the first two Rabbanim of Krula, the first two chief rabbis of Krula, first was Rav Meir Yehuda Leib Ostreicher, also my ancestor, and then his son Rav Moshe Arya Ostreicher.
What's a Krula?
That's just the name of a city in Hungary.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Karol is, I think, the Hungarian name. In Yiddish, we pronounce it Krula.
Can I ask you something?
So, hold on,
After the service.
Well, I gotta run because I have a wedding to do, but I gotta go to Scranton, Pennsylvania, so anyway, so my aunt, I'll see what we could do. It's not next week, So my ancestor, the chief rabbi of Krula, he heard that the Berditchever Rav was coming to visit him, and he was nervous because my ancestor, the Krula Rav, he was not Hasidic, and he was nervous. He said if he met the Berditchever Rav, that he was very pious and very religious. It's just the Hasidic movement in those days nowadays you think Hasidic, they're the most religious. When the movement began, people were nervous because there were all kinds of different movements that popped up. I try to be. So
I try to be.
Yeah. So
that's how we're the curls. I try to be.
Whatever. Well, the curls, that's not the be all and end all of it. But the point is that. So you wouldn't, if you would see rabbis then, in Hungary, you wouldn't know by how they dress that they're Hasidic or not Hasidic.
Why you only ate potato chip yesterday for lunch because you were Hasidic and you didn't want to eat anything that wasn't kosher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just Hasidic. Even Orthodox, conservative, even some Reform keep kosher. But the point what I'm saying here is that when the Hasidic movement began, it was very controversial because people didn't know what it was. They thought maybe it was going to be less religious. When in the end, it wound up being more religious. So that was why people opposed it, especially because there were other similar movements that came out around those times that were.
They say if there's a U on it, then it means it's kosher.
Yeah.
There's a U on it.
Yeah. O with a circle around it. It stands for Orthodox Union. So, I mean, there's other signs too. That's not the only one. So anyway, what I was saying was that my ancestor, Krula Rav, he was so nervous that he would join the Hasidic movement if he met the Berditchever Rav. By that time already, they knew it was religious. Just he was nervous that he would change his ways. He would change his traditions. So he jumped out the window to avoid.
The friend that I was with, his birthday.
Yeah. Okay. So he jumped out the window to avoid meeting the Berditchever Rav. But the Rebbetzin, his wife, she knew that the Berditchever Rav was a tzaddik, and she asked that he should come and give a blessing to the children. So my ancestry comes from one of their daughters who married Rav Moshe Spitz, who was the Rav in Changer, another town in Hungary.
What was that about?
The courtyard is open.
Oh, courtyard.
Courtyard
is open now?
Yeah, another town now that it's open, it's able to be used. Maybe they're doing work, I don't know. So and then when he passed away, his brother-in-law became not only the Rav in Changer, but because he was a Hasidic rabbi, he was the Rebbe of Changer, and he was a little baby there, Bernus and Benjamin Ostreicher, and so he was the first Rebbe of Changer, and that was predicted by the Berditchever Rav. The Berditchever Rav, he saw this baby, all the children from the Krula Rav's family, and he said, one of these is going to be ours. And that Yonis ben Rebbe, he was a chassid of Levi Yitzchak Berditchever. So whatever, that's just a connection that my family has, and my daughter's named Sarah Sasha after his mother. So that's a connection my family has to Berditchev. In any event, what I wanted to say was that teaching from the Berditchever Rav, which really struck me in my heart. I really love this teaching very much, and I tell it over every year. That it says, like I said, we were asking, why is it saying the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron in order to say to them, speak until the children of Israel, saying to them, these are the animals you can eat. In Judaism, we have a rule that there's no extra words in the Hebrew Bible, in the Jewish Bible, what Christians will call the Old Testament. There's no extra words. So if it says, and the Lord spoken to Moses, why does it say saying to them? And it says, speak to the children of Israel in order to say to them. What does this say to them? What's this repetition? So, what the Berditchever Rav writes in Kedushas Levi, in Parshas Shmini, he says like this, he says, prophecy comes to those who eat only kosher food. We see this, there's a legend based on what it says in the Bible. The Bible tells us that baby Moses, he was rescued by the princess of Egypt, and they were looking for a wet nurse, and his sister followed along, and she said, I know a Hebrew woman who's just had a baby, and she's nursing. She can nurse this baby. It was his own mother. And so it turned out that his own mother nursed him. What? Now the question, that's what the Bible tells us. The question we could ask is, there was no Egyptian woman who could nurse this baby? All right, so the simple answer would be, his sister followed along and she volunteered this information before they even started looking. But the legend, the old Jewish legends say like this, that actually they tried the Egyptian women. And he said, no, I don't want. And then only when they brought him to his mother would he nurse. And the rabbis say from this, he says that the mouth that's destined, that the Shekhinah, the divine presence, that God's voice is going to come out of the throat of Moses, it cannot be nursing from an unclean source. Even though the law is, according to Jewish law, a non-Jewish woman can nurse a Jewish baby, and it is considered kosher. Moses, he was on a higher level. He needed to aspire to something higher. Even as a baby, his holiness was already in him from his youth, even from his infancy. And from there we see that in order to be worthy to be a prophet, you have to be careful what you eat. And he says, we see in the Bible, in the book of Job,